Hello Jazz Cats, and welcome to the sixth and final, for now, installment of our multi-part series on how to sound hip on the 5 chord. To reiterate the premise of these videos, the 5 chord is important because it's the first half of a perfect cadence, and it's the middleman in a 2-5-1, and it gives us the most harmonic tension that you can get in a chord progression. From Beethoven to Beatles tunes, the 5 always begs to be resolved back to the 1 chord. Now, as improvisers, we can add to this inherent tension by altering certain notes of the 5 chord that will add interest, flair, and even a certain amount of beautiful chaos to our solos. In this series, we began with our bog standard F7 chord and its arpeggio. First, swapping the root for the 9 to make a dominant 9 arpeggio. Then flattening the 9 and using diminished sounds. Then augmenting the 5th. Then we looked at playing outside, and finally in our last episode, flirting with the dangerous and exotic altered scale. Now, before we get to our final idea for gussying up the 5 chord, my name's Tim, and I show busy adult guitarists how to become confident jazz improvisers through clear, bite-sized exercises. No confusing theory, no modes or licks, just what works in real playing. I've just opened up a free jazz guitar community where I'll post resources and tabs from my YouTube lessons, do regular live tutorials, and answer your questions. You also connect with other enthusiastic jazz players, both locally and worldwide. I would love it if you come be part of the team. The link is down below. And now back to our regular program. So throughout this video series, we've been practicing over the Ellington classic Perdido in the key of B flat. So far, looking specifically at the A section, consisting entirely of the progression 5-1. It's a perfect template for beginning to utilize these new sounds. Now, a quick caveat. If you look up Perdido in the real book, you're likely to find the A section written out with multiple chords, starting with a 2, then 5-1, then the 3 chord to the 6 chord in bar 4. This is nonsense. Forget this foolishness and play it as Duke Ellington recorded it in 1941, just as a simple 5 chord for 2 bars followed by the 1 chord for 2 bars. This gives us the space to really play with the new sounds we're learning over the 5 chord. Now, for this final segment, I wanted to explore this song a little bit further by talking about the B section specifically, and how it can also help us take our 5 chord playing to new heights. In our key of B flat, the B section is a simple 3-6-2-5, and they're all dominant chords instead of the diatonic chords that we'd find in the key of B flat, which would be D minor 7, G minor 7, C minor 7 to F7. So in Perdido we have D7 to G7 and then C7 to F7. This is a very common turnaround from the era, used in other songs such as Gershwin's Rhythm Changes, among many, many others. Now, the cool thing about having all these 4 chords written as 7th chords and moving through the cycle of fourths is that we can play them all as if they're 5 chords. So the chords are D7, G7, C7, and F7, the 3, 6, 2, 5 respectively. Our 3, D7, can be thought of as the 5 chord, which would resolve to G. In this case, it's a G7, which is the next chord. Similarly, the G7 can be thought of as the 5 of C, which is our next chord. And the C7 in turn can be thought of as the 5 of F7, which comes after that. And when we reach F7, this is actually the 5 of our home key B flat. What does this mean? It means that you have 4 different 5-1s that you can practice within a single tune, which gives you an abundance of opportunity to throw all of these sounds we've been playing into the mix. Now, how might we approach this? Well, first, I would recommend staying in a single position. We began with our B flat major scale in 5th position here. So what we would do is take the arpeggios for the 3, 6, and 2 chords and turn them from minor 7ths into dominant 7ths. So in this position here, at the 5th fret, we have D7, we have G7, we have C7, and then we're back to our F7. Now, the easiest way to start to transition between all of these shapes is to think of them in terms of their inversions. I have a video looking at this very concept right here, which is a great resource, but I'm going to show you what I mean here. We can think about each of these arpeggios in terms of sets of 3 strings, basically. So if we look at our D7 on the top 3 strings, it looks like this. Then we're transitioning to our G7 right here. Then we've got our C7, and then our F7. So we're not overwhelmed with the full arpeggios across all 6 strings. We're just learning to transition between the specific inversions. Once we're familiar with this, then we can start to alter our notes, just as we did in this series of videos. So you can go from D7 to D9, and then G9, C9, and F9. After that, you can use your flat 9 shapes. So we've got, we're adding that flat 9 to the D7. Then we move to our G7. Adding that flat 9 in there. Then we've got our C7. Followed by our F. And so on. We do that up until we know how to play outside, and we know the altered scales for each of those arpeggios. Now, it won't necessarily sound great if you alter each of the 4 chords in the B section, but it's important to be able to experiment and find what sounds best to your ear. Even if you only alter 2 of the 4 chords, it still sounds lively enough that your listeners will be rapt with interest. Here's an example of the B section with some of the chords altered. By the way, if you want to hear some stellar soloing over a 3-6-2-5 B section like this, listen to Charlie Christian's playing on Swing to Bop. He plays almost exclusively dominant 9 arpeggios over each chord, and it sounds amazing. And so we conclude our 6-part series on how to sound hip on the 5 chord. I hope you found some inspiration. If you want to keep your momentum going, come and join my free jazz guitar community where I post tabs, host live Q&As, and offer more lessons like this. The link is below. See you in the next one, Jazzers.